Hey everybody, it's Cody Fry. I'm going to break down my song Better, the live version that I performed with Cory Wong and Dynamo in this video. So if you haven't heard the live version of Better, there'll be a link in the description on this video. You should definitely listen to that before you watch this, or this is just going to be like, what is going on? With that said, let's just jump right in. So this is the kind of what I would call the arranger's logic file, which is me. I'm the arranger. And so basically this is me playing all the instruments with MIDI drums and MIDI horns and all of that really fun stuff. So let's just play it back and you can hear what that sounds like. So the way this arrangement kind of came about, actually, now that I'm remembering, is Cory was over in my studio, like probably right here, one day, and I was just telling him I was coming up with some live arrangements to do at some shows coming up. And Cory just loves playing bass, maybe more than he loves playing guitar. And so he was just like, bro, let me play bass on Better. And so he came up with this bass line, and I'll let you hear it with the MIDI drums. So he came up with that bass line, and then the rest of the arrangement just kind of came together. So the MIDI drums are Superior Drummer, which is a plugin. Anyway, MIDI drums. So really fun to use because it helps me to sort of get the drummer as much information as possible about what I'm hearing for the arrangement, so that on the day of, we don't have to do as much talking through the arrangement. And that's kind of the goal with all of this entire Logic session, is that what I want to do is, because studio time is expensive and people's time is valuable, when we go in to do a project like this, I want everybody to have as much information as they can, so that when we start working, we've all started at a higher level and then can just tweak and make things a little bit better as we keep going. So you're not trying to teach the parts or whatever. When you get in the studio, I want everybody to know exactly what they're going to be playing, basically. And obviously then they take it and make it their own, which Ross, the drummer, who is unbelievable, definitely did. He definitely took the MIDI drums and raised them quite a few pegs. So the whole arrangement starts with this synth loop, that thing. And so I thought I would show you how I made that. All you need is a synth. This is the Tal Uno synth, which is just a Juno emulation. So it's a very simple synth sound. You just play sort of like a cascading line like that, but then what you do is you add some echo, and you can see it's set to quarter note, and the feedback is way up. And obviously there's just a lot of it in the mix. So now when you play it back, and it will just go on forever. And in addition to a little echo, I usually just add some verb. This is the Valhalla vintage verb. So now that we have that down, what I do is just bounce it, and if you include the audio tail, it'll catch all that nice reverb. So after you bounce it, you're left with this. And what I do is I just take so this is basically a quarter note. And now if I just loop that, pretty good. And then you add, as the final touch, LFO tool, which you'll hear exactly what it's doing. So that's how I made the synth loop. You're welcome to steal that trick. Let's move on and check out these sick MIDI horns. MIDI horns are tough. There's no way around it. They get even better when you go to the fusion section, which is over here. This is real nice. Ooh, yeah, nice little swell there. On that note, let's jump into the fusion section. Initially, basically, I came up with this. So I came up with the bass part. So that was sort of like the foundation for everything. And then on top of that, let's pull up the keyboard here so you can see a little bit better. So a chordal voice is just basically a chord voicing that uses fourths as the basis for the chord. So in this case, you're in the key of B minor, and to create a chordal voicing, all you do is just pick fourths within the scale. So the first voicing starts with this. So 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So that's a chordal voicing of B minor. With the melody, which is you just go chordal voicings all the way. And when you get that last one with a C in the bass, you get that nice kind of C6-9 feel. So just chordal voicings with sort of a bass line going underneath it. So the fusion section starts with this sort of through composed piano solo, which I wrote and Ryan Connors played beautifully. Ryan is founding member of Dynamo, and you can hear what that sounds like on my initial demo here. Just recorded this on my Nord. So again, this is what I would have sent to the musicians so that they would have a good idea of what they're supposed to be playing. So there you go. There's the fusion section with me playing all the instruments. I saw when I opened this that I had initially brought in the strings from the record, which here's what they sound like. Ooh. Sha, 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 sha. All right, so here we are in Pro Tools. This would be the session as it was compiled to send to the mixing engineer. You might notice that this mix sounds quite a bit different than the final mix. Jared Fox mixed this and did a fantastic job. I am terrible at mixing live drums, so just know that. So we got the BGVs here, my lead vocal, the horns, there's the keys stuff, more keys stuff, Cory, guitars, bass, percussion, drums. So I'll just play you a little bit of this so you can hear where we're at. So instantly, so much funkier with real people playing everything, and not just me playing everything. One thing I wanted to show you was a trick that I do with horns. So the horns were phenomenal. They played great. Here's how they sound. But remember those MIDI horns that sounded very stupid on the demo? Well, here they are. But when you mix them in with the real horns, so here's without the MIDI horns, and here's with the MIDI horns. So it's subtle, but it just adds like a little bit of that saturation that you want to give the horns like that extra punch. But remember that you're in the studio. Take the piano here. So Ryan played the piano beautifully, and so here's like his piano solo. Beautiful grand at Sound Emporium where we recorded. But then for the fusion section, we have the low notes, basically the piano that's doubling the bass, and then the high stuff. So, and we separated that out so that in the mix, we can boost the low stuff when we need it. That sounds like this. And then the high stuff by itself. He can play it with both hands and with doing that live, but in a mix, you want to have the flexibility to say, okay, we really need like the low end help here. So why don't we record those two things separately and we can make the whole thing better. Let's listen to a bit of Cory. Nobody plays guitar like Cory Wong. Another spot where we did something like that was with the sort of the synth solo thing. So what Josh played on the day of was this pan flute sample, which is on the Yamaha SY77. I love that sound. But in the mix, it just wasn't kind of punching through on the attacks enough. So we added this shamisen, or I added the shamisen in post that gives it like a little bit more attack. So once again, here's the pan flute by itself. And now with the shamisen. So you can see it kind of gives it that teeth, the ka-ka, like it gives it a little bit of attack that in the full mix helps the whole thing punch through a lot better. So I would say a lot of the things I've learned from doing this project, I will pass along in this way, which is to say that, number one, get the best musicians you possibly can. The guys who played on this are just crushers. So first of all, I knew it was going to be great because of the people who were involved. Wong and Dynamo, unbelievable players. All the background vocalists just crushed. And with that said, hire the best musicians, but then also spend the time crafting the parts for them. I would say, think about it this way, where like, I can spend a whole day coming up with guitar parts or working in a Logic session to come up with the arrangement. Whereas if I don't do that work, then the player on the day of is having to try to come up with a cool part, and he may only have 30 minutes, an hour to kind of come up with something cool if he's lucky, maybe 2 or 3 times through the song, and then we got to record the video. So the work that you put in on the front end as a producer arranger will pay dividends, because when people know what they're doing and they feel well rehearsed, it allows them to operate at their maximum potential and then expand on the stuff that you created in ways that you would have never imagined. And that's what happened with this project. Like, I definitely laid a strong foundation, but then when everybody got in the room, it just became elevated with just the vibe and everybody working together. It was so much fun. I think that's it. I mean, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer as many of them as I can. And if you like videos like this, I do a couple other song breakdowns, which you can find on my YouTube channel. So Thanks for watching.